A warm good evening to all. Today we are celebrating 31st Foundation Day of KC Das Commerce College. I, on behalf of the college family, welcome you all for today's virtual Foundation Day lecture, which is a part of today's celebration. At the very outset, I would like to offer my homage to late Ramesh Chaudhuri, first governing body president and donor member of the college, and his father late Keshav Chandra Das, on whose name our college was established. Now I would like to request our principal sir, Dr. Purva, to start today's program with his welcome address. Over to you, sir.
Thank you, Pahona. Am I audible?
Yes, sir.
There has been a technical glitch, and for which I think I don't know whether we should say sorry or what, but then anyway, the initiation of the program has been hampered because of this technical glitch. Anyway, Honorable Dr. Arup Kumar Mishra, sir, former Director, Aztec, and Associate Professor, Assam Engineering College, an invited speaker of today's online event. I think our GB Chairman, sir, will be also joining in a very short while. And our beloved Srimati Minati Chaudhuri Baideo, who has been the former president of our governing body, colleagues, alumni, and participants of today's event. Namaskar and a very good evening to all of you. At the very outset, on behalf of KC Das Commerce College, I welcome all of you to this virtual arena where we all have gathered today to commemorate the 37th Foundation Day of our institution. It is a big day for us, and I would like to take this opportunity to rush through a few moments of our history and present status. Well, I think around 82-83, a few like-minded and academically inclined personalities, they joined hands to set up what was earlier known as the Kamrup Commerce College. And that particular institution was later rechristened as KC Das Commerce College. Professor Tarini Kanto Borua, Professor Paresh Pathak, Professor Dhirendranath Kolita, Mrs. Minati Chaudhuri, to name a few, I believe, they played a very key role. However, it was noted industrialist late Sri Ramesh Chaudhuri who stood like a pillar to support this institution. And it is worthwhile to mention that Keshav Chandra Das is the father of Ramesh Chaudhuri. Dr. Hitesh Deka, who is presently Vice Chancellor of Mahapurush Srimanta Shankardev University, also played a very crucial role to develop this institution as its principal. The journey of this institution started with a mere 107 students. And today, although we lack severely in space and many infrastructural facilities, we have more than 3,000 students, right from all across the northeastern states, Rajasthan, Bihar, even Bhutan also. And this has been possible by dint of hard work of all the stakeholders of KC Das Commerce College, who could carve out a special place in the field of commerce education along with BBA, BCA and MCOM. From the current academic session, I am happy to share with you all that we have also opened up BA and BSc streams under the Guwahati University with a few selected subjects. And of course, we desire to expand in due course of time. And our progress have been helped and supported in various ways because of the good results that our students have shown. Not only in academics, but in various sports and other activities. And as such, we cherish their achievements at the state, national, and international level. Today, we are very proud to say that our alumni can be found excelling in various sectors. Keeping in mind today's demands, apart from serious academics, we also have been laying stress on skill and career counseling. We have signed MOU with Institute of Company Secretaries of India, Assam Startup, and J6 for career opportunities in Japan or Japanese corporate houses. I'm very happy to share with you all that with our own resources, we have opened up a commerce lab, Department of Value-Added Education, R&D cell, and also developed online certificate courses on a few disciplines of commerce and IT education. With our own academic inputs, we could develop a mobile app and online software to run the teaching, learning, and evaluation process during this pandemic. This has been possible because of the fighting spirit amidst us. So fighting against all the hurdles. As a team, we have been trying to move ahead. We still need the support and help in various sectors to transform our institution to a level it deserves. I thank all the stakeholders and the government of Assam in this regard for all the support. I believe our efforts as a team will help to produce future business leaders with positive attitude, who are good citizens, competent, and believes in sustainability. Well, unlike yesteryears, we celebrated our Foundation Day today in the college premises in a very restrained manner. However, as planned, we are all geared up to listen to Dr. Arup Kumar Mishra sir on a very relevant theme in the present times. Mishra sir is a reputed scientist and a well-known preacher of science education. I'm pretty sure we all will gain a lot listening to him. I thank you once again, sir, for accepting our invitation. And with these few words, once again, I welcome you all. Thank you. Namaskar. Over to you, Dr. Upahana Chakraborty.
Thank you, sir. On behalf of KCDS Commerce College, it's my proud privilege to introduce Dr. Arup Kumar Mishra sir, speaker of today's Foundation Day lecture. Dr. Arup Kumar Mishra sir is basically a chemical engineering graduate from Assam Engineering College, obtained postgraduate degree from IIT Kanpur, and later on in 2011, he was awarded PhD by Guwahati University for his work on environmental biotechnology. His core areas of interest are environmental engineering, sustainable development, green engineering, besides chemical engineering, thermodynamics, and process dynamics and control. At present, he is an associate professor in the Department of Chemical Engineering at Assam Engineering College, Guwahati. During his service period, till date, on deputation, he has served as the Director of Assam Science, Technology and Environment Council, ASTEC, and also Director of Assam Energy Development Agency, EDA, both nodal agencies of Government of Assam. Besides, he worked as a senior fellow in the Department of Science and Technology, Vigyan Prasar, Government of India, New Delhi. This reflects multidimensional activities in his professional career. He also presented peer-reviewed technical papers in international conferences held at Edinburgh, UK in 1991, Barcelona, Spain in 1992, Florida, USA in 2003, Auckland, New Zealand in 2004, Kuala Lumpur, Malaysia in 2015, and Bonn, Germany in 2016. He was a part of a 12-member Indian delegation for a study tour from MNRE, Government of India, to New York and San Francisco in 2017 as Director, EDA. In October 2019, he again represented India on behalf of EDA in the Rio 19 Congress held at Berlin, Germany. Besides, he was a member of the 5-member Indian youth delegation to Germany and Brazil in 1996 for more than 2 months group study exchange tour, which is a prestigious exchange program of Rotary International, USA. He also has over 30 papers published in journals, presented in conferences in the country, besides over 100 articles in scientific and popular journals. He is very passionate about science popularization and science communication efforts in the country. During the period 1998-2001, Dr. Misra sir initiated quite a few projects for children and youth. During his tenure in Bigyan Prasar, he had widely traveled across the country and established about 4,000 science clubs across India. His initiative of enhancing science coverage through electronic media serials were immensely popular, such as Prithibi Aru Antariksha from All India Radio Dibrugarh, Vipanna Bahudha from All India Radio Guwahati, science magazines from All India Radio Chennai, Jaipur, Tiruvanthapuram, etc. He was also a national coordinator of National Children's Science Congress during 1997-98. In addition to this, we also saw him during our college days in Doordarshan as a quiz master. A trained mass communicator, Dr. Misra, has anchored and produced more than 150 TV programs and 250 radio programs on science, technology, and environment. Dr. Misra sir has been rendering his services to a number of important assignments in Assam and outside. Notable among these are member of the University Courts of Guwahati University and Assam Science and Technology University as nominee of the Honorable Governor of Assam. Member of the 7-member expert committee formed by Government of Assam for reforms and recognition of Board of Secondary Education Assam in 2012. He was also a member of 29-member High Power Committee for reforms of higher education in Assam formed in 2012. Member of 3-member Assam Air Pollution Appellate Authority for 2 terms, 2003 and 2006. Then advisor to Assam Science Congress Association since its inception in 2000. Also, he was a member in various committees of courses, technical education matters, etc. in NIT Silchar, NIT Arunachal Pradesh, Nehu, Dibrugarh University, Tezpur University, Guwahati University, Cotton University, etc. He was the founder secretary of Northeast Technical Society, which is running the well-known engineering college Nij Mirza at Mirza, Kamrup, Assam. He was also a member of the Institute of Engineers India for 30 years. He was the first honorary secretary of the Assam State Center during 2008 to 2010 and chairman of Institute of Engineering India Assam State Center for the period 2014 to 16. Now he is a National Council member of the Environmental Engineering Division Board at this national body. So I may be pardoned for any error or omissions in narrating his brief profile. Now I would like to request Dr. Arup Kumar Misra sir kindly to deliver his lecture on the topic Challenges and Opportunities in a Post-COVID-19 World, special reference to Assam. Over to you, sir.
Am I audible? Can you hear me?
Yes, yes, sir, you're audible.
Actually, this is the problem with the printed biodata or resume. You read everything and then I get very embarrassed. I am just part of you, like any other teacher. So basically, I always want to be a teacher. One of my very favorite teachers, before he died, you all know him as Hilabhadra, right? I know him as Dr. Revati Mohan Datta Choudhury. He was my teacher in the first and second semester of Mathematics and Engineering College. You know him as Hilabhadra, famous writer, story writer. When I went to his house, I said, sir, how would you like to be remembered after you go, you die? He says, Arup, moi khodai teacher hisabe thaki bhal pam. মোক লেখক হিচাপে বা অন্য হিচাপে একো নালাগে মোক কিবা প্রাইজ পালো নাপালো একো নালাগে I want to be remembered as a teacher. Upasana, I am also a teacher and I am happy to be back in AEC. And lot of thanks to Dr. Rishikesh Borua, who spoke in a brief way so nicely about the college. Today, I would have loved to be among you if in normal times in the college campus, but as situation demands, we cannot go there. When Hitesh Deka was the principal, I had the privilege of going there once for some delivering some lectures. Otherwise, also once or twice I have gone, not in a meeting, but just to meet them, some people. Most of the teachers are known to me. So without taking much of your time, but giving you a thanks for inviting me, I would like to start my presentation. Now let me see if I can do it. This is just only 2 days back I have got this new laptop. So I have to find out whether I can. Can you see the presentation? Hello?
No, sir, it's not coming on the screen.
coming.
It's not visible.
How to go about that?
Share screen.
Share screen of Gushu.
Wait, Tony.
What is share? Okay. Share. Now?
Yes, you're
Yeah,
sharing.
now it's
Yes,
visible,
yes,
Can you
Now
see
it's
the
visible.
screen?
yes, yes.
Yes.
We can see.
Okay. This full screen or it's cut somewhere? No. Full screen?
No, it's not the full screen.
How do I remove that?
This will also do. Come on, you start.
I know.
We can see. এই সাইডত মানে ওলাই আছে তোমাৰ পাৱাৰ পইণ্টৰ এইটো এতিয়া ওলাই আছে পাৱাৰ পইণ্ট
Same.
I think if you press the F5,
okay,
yeah, full screen, then I think
F5 to 9 sound to নোহোৱা হৈ গ'ল
function F5, function key F5 or the full. Yeah.
Just come now.
Is this okay?
It's okay.
Yeah.
Now it's okay, sir.
Okay. So this is the anyway the first slide I already spoke. Best wishes and greetings to all of you. It's a wonderful college doing very good work, and if I see the commerce results, I find it no less than Guwahati Commerce College, which is supposed to be the oldest one. So my topic, which was chosen by me when we started the discussion, was challenges and opportunities in a post-COVID-19 world. I'm very much concerned about this because so much has changed in the whole world in all these last 7-8 months. Economy has never witnessed such drastic uncertainties in the past, fall. Maybe World War II, or in recent times, if you ask me, 22 years back, the 1998 depression. So survival of people across the globe is hanging due to loss of jobs, business, trades and commerce, production and productivity. And even now, by any report of International Monetary Fund or World Bank or any other body, I don't see that immediately things are going to improve. So it's a great depression and a lot of people have gone into poverty. So in this scenario, when I look at the whole situation, I find that there are two different, pictures which are emerging out. One is, some people are saying, even social studies are saying that after this same suffering, same pain and other tragedy, human tragedy, the world will become more united and convergent. In a converging world. But with the second bullet I have said, it's rather wishful thinking because increasing differences are emerging due to a lot of emerging due to a lot of polarization. And 3 countries, all the 3 major countries in the world, USA, India and China, they are witnessing more and more regulations and regulatory regime. So another group of people who have said, instead of united and converging, they said it will be more divided, conflictual, and nationalistic in character. We are talking about a global village. We are talking about all, happening in the. Unfortunately, it is not going to happen very soon in this world. So these are the two diametrically opposite views which I can paint here. And in the next slide, I'm just trying to recapture. You all know about that. It's just a recapitulation. Late December 2019, Wuhan reported the first peculiar virus linked to a local meat market, wet meat market, and the scientific community reported it to the World Health Organization, WHO. On 26 January, our Republic Day, in China, virus identified as novel coronavirus named after COVID-19 later on, also written as small letter n, capital C, CoV-2 in the history of coronavirus, because this is not first time. Earlier, we had severe acute respiratory syndrome, SARS, in 2003. In 2011-12, we had Middle East respiratory syndrome, MERS. So in the series of coronavirus, and CoV-2 is just one, but this is a very deadly one. And when you go for genome sequence, there's some noise. Please, can you switch off your microphones, please? Genome sequencing and reverse transcription polymerase chain reaction, what you call RT-PCR, it confirms the virus potential. And who immediately prepared a roadmap? I have shown in the red for diagnostics, therapeutics, and vaccine development. On 30 January, after 4 days of the naming of the virus, Emergency Committee of WHO declared COVID-19 as a global health emergency. And after February, you saw Europe, North America, South America, Middle East, Asia, Africa, almost all countries, out of 210 odd countries in the UN, almost 196 got very severely affected. What has happened in the pandemic now? In April 2020, it was said that global economy will shrink by 1% instead of grow by 2.5%. Just see that instead of plus 2.5, it will go to minus 1, loss of 3.5%. But in October 2020, I have consulted some recent reports of UN and other bodies. They said this shrinking of economy will be as high as 5.2%, which is very, very dangerous. Another R&D group in London, it says, additional 395 million, that is 39.5 crore, people will go below poverty line. And with existing poor, number of just people will cross 1 billion. The number of people who would face food security will double in 2020. And this 20th century model, what we say, many of you in this particular college, Kesidas Commerce College, you are very good in commerce and business management and other things, and statistics, mathematics, etc., etc. You know, economic growth as usual is some model which says that you don't take any extra care or extra, tough measures. Let economy grow as it is. But this model will not hold good anymore, since this time environment, gender, energy, inclusiveness, etc. will have new definitions and different meanings. This statement, my dear friends, is very, very important. I have been dealing with this subject for many, many years. In fact, my wife, who is a senior scientist in the Government of India in Delhi, she is the head of the gender division of DST, Department of Science Technology. And through her and other exposure, I have come to know that this COVID-19, although it has impacted everybody, but it has impacted the women very, very badly, because they have to take the entire brunt of the attack. So this is one point which I want to flag for you. And last point is genuine concern to stop intersecting risk of climate change and armed conflict, which will lead to huge displacement, eco-refugees, and much more human tragedies. You can already see, if you look at some of the things, today Assam Tribune has published an article on Armenia and Azerbaijan, two countries in the erstwhile USSR. Why they are fighting? They are fighting for a landmass, about 4,000 square kilometers, which is known as Nagorno-Karabakh. So in this type of a situation, you find when the resources are scarce, people are suffering, poverty is there, every government, every nation will try to, touch onto their own resources. And in that case, what happens? The global, unity and all these different treaties we have, bilateral, trilateral, multilateral treaties, they go for a toss. That's the worst part of the entire fallout of the pandemic. Since my topic is challenges and opportunities, first I'll talk about challenges and the problems, and then we'll go for opportunities. So major economic impact of the pandemic in the developing world: lockdown to contain the spread of virus, no doubt about that. But it results in stoppage of all economic, manufacturing and business activities, all modes of transport, total halt in service sectors, internal external trades, reduced agricultural activities and small export import. Now, second point is very important for us. We are in the academic areas, whether it is school or college or university, doesn't matter. Closure of schools, colleges, universities, disruption in trainings, workshop, academic activities, all these things, except health sector, almost everything came to a standstill after March. And you saw how we have really suffered because of that. Online education, many people say online education. Only 46% of Indian people population can have the high band connectivity, or they can afford to have an Android telephone or something like the device like that to go for online education. I spoke it very clearly few days after lockdown in the Doordarshan Kendra. Some people criticized me. I said, no, online education is not the solution to this type of a pandemic. Then millions of daily wage earners, petty labor, skilled, semi-skilled, unskilled workers rendered jobless. Economies in many countries already on the verge of collapse. Therefore, the last statement of mine in this slide with that, I think we have to go back to the modern economy, three fundamentals of modern, three pillars of modern economy. One is global supply chains, second is wages, and third is productivity. So I don't have to explain to people like you who are much more literate in terms of business, commerce, and so on and so forth than the other engineering or medical or science colleges. Now, the big challenge for mankind for the sake of humanity and sustainable development is that challenge is that we, the countries in mostly in America, Europe, in Asia, where democracy is the supreme political system, we have a very tough time in controlling this. We cannot take unpleasant measures. People will always criticize us. When communists tried to control COVID-19 because its political structure is different, Sweden developed herd immunity model. They said no lockdown. You go out, let 80% of the people that develop this herd immunity, let them get sick, have this flu or influenza. It's basically a flu. Let them get COVID-19 and they will automatically become immune to it later on. We are neither China or Sweden. We are not so radical, but in the democratic system, you have already noticed how after first lockdown, when second lockdown was clamped in Guwahati or other cities of Assam or India, what happened? How people were, coming out of their home because they thought that livelihood is the main thing, and if they lose livelihood, COVID or no COVID, they will lose their life. So basically, for the sake of our environment, we have to come to some consensus. New health regulations, guidelines on sanitation and hygiene, standard operating procedure SOP for social transactions must be created and shared across all geographies. This is what now we are doing. Every epidemic and pandemic in history has taught us new lessons. And COVID-19 also has tremendous potential. This is where the opportunities come. Surely will take mankind to a new destination, empowered to tackle future biodisasters. COVID-19 in our language, in the biotechnology, we say biological disaster. This is not the first time that the world has seen. In 1918 and between 1918 and 20, you know about the Spanish flu, when 5 crore people died, 50 million people had perished. That way, if you see after 100 years, number of deaths is much less this time. Although the spread, geographical spread is very wide, but number of people who have died is very, very less compared to the one. What are the different points? I would not like to give you long, statements. Rather, I have made some bullet points. After COVID-19, changing global scenario, what will happen? Supply chain would be local rather than global. From Delhi, Mumbai, Kolkata also, because of no flight, no train, no trucks to carry materials to Assam, Northeast, we were suffering in that particular time. You know that. So what is the solution? Solution is that as far as possible, produce locally, if it is possible. Why do we have to buy the simple 5-10 rupees mask from outside? Why do we have to buy the simple, agricultural produce or other things or spices and condiments from the outside? So now this time people have realized if you have a local supply chain, local production, local market linkages, it is much better for such disasters. Then the second point, what we are doing today, instead of meeting in the college, we are going shopping, working and playing online. It is on the rise. We are working online. Foundational lecture is being given on the virtual platform. The third point is very dangerous, dear friends. This is where I faced some criticism from people that you are director of Aztec, and you were still saying that it will be a big chasm, digital divide. I say it will be a chasm. It will divide society. People who have the benefit of Android mobile phone, their parents can afford, they have connectivity at home, they can study online, and people who don't have, these 2+ categories will be created and divide will be more. We are trying to bridge the gap between this digital divide, and now we are actually becoming more prone to it. Then home bias will increase dramatically. This is all you know. Healthcare for all will become a more standard view. Right now, we know that many, only in Western Europe and America and some countries, they have got health insurance and health coverage for all people. We don't have in our country. In Asia, no country has got that. So we have to also think in that line. Unemployment benefit base will perhaps enlarge. Loss of trust will take time to recover. Loss of trust has been there this time because of various reasons. Economy is the main reason. Loss of livelihood is the main reason. And the last point I'm trying to flag is insurance will take the center stage. These points have been taken from an article written by Susie Taheri, a famous lady who writes in Forbes in the month of May. Now, I spoke about international collaboration. This is an opportunity for us to go for collaboration. You don't have to reinvent the wheel. We say reinvent the wheel. Why should you reinvent the wheel? When somebody has already done it, let us apply it somewhere. Let us put in technological uses. So Paul Duprex, a famous virologist who works with the virus, he said in Pittsburgh University, USA, if you read this sentence, you will see how many countries are involved here. Only because of that, I am putting this statement. Sorry. He says, we are collaborating with Pasteur Institute in Paris, that is France, and Themis Bioresearch, an Austrian drug company. We have received funds from Coalition for Epidemic Preparedness Innovation from Norway, 4th country. Already America is there, Austria is there, France is there, Norway, which in turn is financed by Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation of the USA and few other governments. We are also talking to the Serum Research Institute. We are proud of it. Serum Research Institute of India, one of the largest vaccine manufacturers of the world. I put deliberately this particular statement for all of you to see that 7-8 countries are involved in a simple vaccination development. And after 20 years or 25 years, we have seen such collaboration in the world. When did we see last time? We saw last time when AIDS was there. AIDS was rampaging throughout the globe, and all doctors, engineers, technocrats, biochemists, they were trying to find out, some sort of a vaccination or drug for AIDS. It has not come yet, but this is the time when in this COVID pandemic time, so many countries are collaborating. They are not looking after me only or I only or my country only. That is what is the positive outcome of this COVID-19. Now, since I put a particular tagline in my topic, special reference to Assam, I should speak a few things about Assam. It's the largest economy in Northeast, and gross state domestic product by this 2020-21 will be about rupees 4.09 lakh crore. You can 4.09 lakh crore in American language is for trillion. And India still has got 16 more richer states than us. We are number 17. Anyway, then we are largest producer of onshore crude oil and natural gas on land, onshore. Then 53.5% of tea in India is produced here, which is 1/7 of the world population. 15-16%. Then we are among the highest producer of medicinal aromatic plant species in the country. So many things are there. 300 varieties of different medicinal aromatic plants are going from Assam and Northeast, which is not found anywhere else. Many of the cosmetics company, medicinal farms, drug manufacturers in the country, they depend upon the supply from Assam. If you look at the infrastructure, industrial infrastructure, today we have got 20 industrial estate, 3 industrial growth center, 17 industrial areas, 12 growth centers, 11 integrated infrastructure development depot, 8 mini industrial estate, 1 export promotion park, and 1 food promotion park. This is a total industrial picture. I should not say everything is working perfectly all right, but once in a while I have the opportunity to visit. I have seen, for example, 1 food promotion park. It's in say Soigaon Boko side. If you go there, you will find that a lot of food product producers are working here. And earlier, which used to come from some other metropolitan city in India, is now packaged here itself. So, but the last statement which I make is numbers alone don't matter. People who manage, who work and produce wealth also really matters. So, Assam, we have this type of situation. But Corona has really brought about changes in Assam also. Like any other part of the country or world, we have also undergone a lot of changes. 69% of Assam's population, even today, depend upon agriculture and similar activities, allied activities. It was extremely hit hard during lockdown. Over 30 lakh Assamese youth who work outside the state in petty jobs and survive on that. 90% of those came back home, not returned back. Some have gone back, very few have gone back, and most of them lost their jobs. But worst hit sectors in Assam are travel and tourism, micro, small and medium enterprises, handloom and handicrafts, tertiary sector of industrial activities, which we call service sector. You all know you're from commerce background. Tertiary sector is service sector. And therefore, you know that production is very limited in Assam or in entire Northeast. So our business and trade runs on service sector. And marginalized farmers, agro-businessmen and small business in the hospital sector and forest people and producers are fully crippled. If you go towards Kaziranga or Manas or Orang, any national park or sanctuary, you will see the situation. Only recently it has opened up, but people have not been able to really take the benefit. When Guwahati, all the restaurants in Guwahati, eating joints in Guwahati opened up after the lockdown, you will be surprised to see in one day, not even 10 customers were in the big restaurants. Many have already stopped. About 3,000 small and big eating joints were in Guwahati city. More than 50% have not been able to open even now. Similarly, forest people who depend upon forest resources nearby, they're also fully crippled. So business, hotel, tourism sector, hospitality, this has suffered like anything. This is the change we are expecting. So what will be the expected scenario in Assam? Huge boost up to online education, virtual teaching and learning, e-learning and coaching centers. This is having a very bright future. People have realized, even if we come to normalcy after 2, 3, 4 months, I don't think people will be immediately rushing to some place. And this is going to stay for some time. This online education system, virtual teaching, this is going to stay for some time. Then greater emphasis on health, hygiene, sanitation, of course, and wellness centers across the state. You don't have to re-emphasize on that. You all know this is a health, hygiene, sanitation, and wellness center to the state. Even if people have suffered and got better, recovered from Corona, people always now say, I have a lot of friends in our family also and friends also, they say ki, lung capacity has gone down, lung is permanently damaged to some extent, 10-20% capacity of oxygen absorption has reduced. So that means a lot. If you form a fibroidal type of material, if the lung instead of muscular and very soft, it becomes hard, then you say fibroidal formation, and then in that case, the oxygen absorption becomes lesser. So a lot of people are now going for more and more health checkups and hygiene and sanitation and wellness centers, etc. Then deeper percolation and management of services of social media. Social media earlier was thought to be a pastime. It is no longer a pastime. For a lot of people now, social media has become the livelihood. The fourth sector, which I have collected all these things from some literature from the Assam Economic Forum, etc. Auto body making and maintenance. Earlier it was there. Our automobile used to be made here, trucks and buses were manufactured. There's a lot of rising demand now. People don't come from outside, and our people who buy vehicles, they don't want to send the things outside. So we will be having a tremendous demand after the COVID-19 for this type of thing. Fish farming, already it is in the news. You have seen last couple of weeks, a lot of fish farming, integrated poultry farming, piggery, hatchery is there. For 6 months together, Tamil Nadu, Andhra Pradesh, even Lucknow could not send the fish out of their place to Assam because everything was closed. Nothing was running. Then computer training and certification programs will be also having a better program. I don't mean to say it is not there. We have a lot of big names, US or British names, even Indian like NEET or APTEC, etc. are there. But now computer training and education will become more and more vigorous. Now the most important point is organic farming. Many of my students, even few engineers, are going for a lot of organic farming and farming composting because it has got value. People nowadays don't mind to give a few bucks extra, few rupees extra, if the food is safe and you can have a, you feel it. After eating the food, you feel it that something, it was different than the chemical sprayed or pesticide sprayed food, normally which comes from Barpeta Road or Nagaon or Kharupetia, etc., Mongoldoy side. So organic farming is gaining a lot of ground. I am telling from my experience. Till 10 days back, I was in Aztec. So I used to interact with a lot of people and they used to come. And then their market has definitely gone up. And the last but one point is stepping up of tea processing and tea bag making. You'll be surprised, with 53.55 production of tea of India, we don't have a good tea bag maker here. The simple tea bag which you buy comes from some other place outside Assam. And this has to be also taken up very seriously. And the last point I'm making is holistic approach to preschool activities, preschool services. Before the school itself, nowadays it is like all these preschools are basically, they give you rote learning, and they manufacture a small baby, 2.5 year, 3 baby, to crack the exams of Don Bosco, St. Mary's, Holy Child, and some other school to get a seat. It will no longer be similar. This preschool services, if you look at the Western model, it's a total care, holistic approach. Besides learning, their health, personality growth, everything is taken care of by the preschool, and they keep for longer hours. Friends, you will all accept that today in our life, most of our husband, wife, or families, both are working types. They work either in school, colleges, or some other location. So in this scenario, I think Assam will be having some sort of, rays of hope in this list of activities that we can take up. Now, this is a slide which I put here. Global trends, we are also going to see in Assam. More barbelization, consolidation within sectors. If some friend has not understood the first word, it's basically like a gymnasium hall barbell. On both sides, weight should be balanced. So in barbelization, if you put your money only for shares or debentures, you don't gain. So you say, I put some money for fixed deposit, one part I keep for equity shares, one part I keep for normal, some sort of a instrument in bank or post office. So like that, you keep your money, which is called barbelization. And every sector now will look for barbelization. If you have noticed one news, few days back, Mukesh Ambani has lost millions of dollars. Thousands of crores of rupees he has lost, mainly because of the Jio mobile. He was charging very less and service charge was going up. So he has lost a lot of money. But since he is Mukesh Ambani, India's richest man, that 5,000, 6,000 crore rupees loss he can always take. Then the second point, what we're going to see in Assam also, like any other place, is portfolio divestiture and carve out. You have to carve out 2 sectors and you have to go for some sort of portfolio divestiture, to divest the portfolio and go out of the normal thing. If one person is there who is running only his tourism business, he think of the second business. If somebody is selling some cloth and garments, he has to think of some second. So business portfolio also has to change. And acquisition of regional companies is a very big thing coming up now. Already started. In many, many countries, acquisition of regional companies has started. Some companies which are crippling, and last 7-8 months, there was no activity. They are coming to the bigger players and saying that we have to collaborate. You take us now, you take the major share, 51% share, and we'll go for some sort of a collaboration. It is bound to happen. Enhancing technological and digital capabilities, no doubt about that. We have to enhance our people's technological digital capabilities. Only now, we don't say only engineering educated people, only people with a BSc or BTech computer science will know about computers, not that. You need more and more people who are capable of going digital, going technological. and need for alliance and partnership, I have been repeating from the beginning. So synchronization, syncing our needs with universal trends has to be done. And dear friends, this is a very, very, like this slide, I normally, when I address the teachers in the HRDC, Guwahati University, or any other college and university, I always say that remember the 5 Ps. Sustainable development, the 17 sustainable development goal that we are now passing through. From 2015 to 30, in 15 years time, whole world has to satisfy 17 development goals. And in that process, these goals will not be fulfilled unless you think about the 5 Ps. 5 Ps are people, planet, prosperity, peace, and partnership. And to achieve this sustainable development, the 5 most important measures that you have to take are adoption of appropriate technology, reduce, reuse, and recycle approach, promotion of environmental education and awareness, resource utilization as per carrying capacity, and improving quality of life in all its 3 sectors: social life, cultural life, and economic life. I don't think in this particular group of ours today, anyone needs some sort of explanation. Appropriate technology is the in thing now. The whole world is saying. Even the technology that we get from outside, inside India, but outside Assam, when we bring it to Assam, we may have to give it a different color. So that is what I want me to say. Long back in engineering college, I went to see some of the gobar gas, biogas plant in the village in near Mirza and Polakbari. Everybody for 2-3 years ran the whole thing nicely. And then the whole equipment, the digester where the gobar will be put, cow dung is put, that became corroded. It went wrong and stopped functioning. Reason is that people who made it in Rajasthan or Gujarat, they never knew about the soil condition of Assam, that water table is high. You can get water in a very shallow depth. And also acidic water. Our soil and our water is slightly acidic in nature compared to the mainland India. So if you do not make an appropriate change in the technology, it will not survive. Best example is the Khadi and Village Industries Limited, who tried to propagate gobar gas and people took it. A lot of people took it. Those who don't have LPG, they were getting same quality of blue flame fire for cooking through gobar gas plant, but after 2-3 years, everything was destroyed. There are many examples, friends. I can go on. I don't know to go. Reduce, reuse, and recycle approach. You know, there is the optimization of the resources. Promotion of environmental education and awareness, very, very important. It is my subject. Resource utilization as per carrying capacity. You cannot put extra load on a person who can take. In Guwahati railway station, a coolie will say, Babu, hum 2 hi suitcase le payenge. Then aapko 4 lena padega. You take 4. After some time, he will just fall down. That is carrying capacity of the earth. Today, we need actually 2.68 times. I repeat, 2.68 times the earth, what we have today, resources, to sustain today's our activities. Almost 7.4 billion people, 740 crores, with the given water resource, forest resource, mineral resource, land area for cultivation, we are not sufficient. We need 2.68 times the present earth capacity, which is not there. Therefore, you have got all these problems. And if I say Corona, COVID-19 is also some sort of a man-made disaster to some extent, not entirely, but to some extent, then it is not wrong. Because animals, wildlife, they carry a lot of virus, a lot of bacteria in their body. And if they come to the human habitat, there's going to be real crisis. Putting in simple terms, whatever I have said earlier, if you put in simple statement, we need to invest more in sustainable and green infrastructure, number 1. Then we must build resilience for most vulnerable communities. I am telling again and again, Guwahati, empowering Guwahati people to become, healthy and wealthy and good is not sufficient for Assam. You must look at the most vulnerable communities, the tribals, the riverine people, the forest people, the hill districts. Only a few days back, I have come back from Diffu. If you look at the conditions outside Diffu township in Karbi Anglong district, you will be surprised that people even don't know what is happening in this world. So building resilience in them, making them more empowered is the hour. Otherwise, such things will keep on coming. These disasters will keep on coming and you will never be able to tackle them in the right way. Use up all possible fiscal mechanisms for recovery and resilience. And then promote long-term changes in behavioral patterns. Human behavior has to change, already changing. Nowadays, you see the mask, the mask is taken now. I'm sitting here alone, only with a friend of mine, so I'm not putting it, but mask has become a part of our life. And sanitizer also is there, we have to carry every time. We wash our hand, we are more hygienic sense has improved. So these are the things which will contribute to the behavioral pattern. Create regulatory mechanism for enabling technologies, expand cooperation, coordination for collective action, and invest more and more in preparedness and prevention as a rule. Earlier, our disaster management people used to come once in a while. To some college, they will come, engineering college, one day they will come, ASDMA, and they will say, all the buildings, if they fall down, how the students will be going out. Suppose there is an earthquake and you have to evacuate the building, how you will do? Earlier, it was done once in a blue moon. Now, every time you have to do it. People have to get prepared for all type of disasters. And we are zone 5. Zone 5 is the worst zone for earthquakes. So I think more and more things have to come in. So in the conclusion, I would like to say, I told Upasana I will not be speaking too long because it's a different feeling talking to the screen. But when you go to the college, I can go for hours. But now I would like to come to my concluding remarks. COVID-19 pandemic is a turning point in contemporary history. As I told you, after World War II and 1998 Great World Disaster Depression, economic depression is a turning point. We have challenges in health, economy, social sectors, but we also have opportunities to realign and rebuild. These two words, dear friends, realignment and rebuilding the whole economy and the society is an opportunity for us. We can start from scratch and think new. This pandemic can heighten social awareness of the marginalized. Again, I am repeating the same thing. See, because of climate change, what is a very important point today? Climate change is a very, very important issue. You all know. Little bit of 0.1, 0.2 degrees Celsius rise in temperature, global temperature, will bring about unforeseen changes. There are 58 countries in the world which we call SIDS, SIDS. SIDS means small island development states, like Bahrain, like Maldives, like Mauritius. So these countries will be facing total erasement, obliteration from the earth, if little bit of the level of the ocean and sea will go up. So this pandemic can heighten social awareness and marginalized. This pandemic can promote support for homegrown business. It can help invest in more people, their skills, reward and retain them. And post-COVID-19 will definitely act as a catalyst for strategic interdependencies to leverage collective strength. That slide I showed you, 7-8 countries are involved in a Pittsburgh University laboratory in America, where a professor says that 6-7 countries are involved for finding out a simple medicine for COVID-19. So dear friends, I can say finally, all economies will have to focus more on common goals that are shared across nations. Since such pandemics do not discriminate, it doesn't know demography or geography. Where people stay, what people are there, tribal, non-tribal, Indo, Muslim, Christian, geography, they do not know. Pandemic is coming, it is going to everywhere. So I think it's with a very, very positive bend of mind, I would like to say that let us try to use this great depression or dark time as a very, very good sign for future realignment and rebuilding our society. So already people have started working, but unfortunately, since last week, again in Italy, Spain, England, a second time lockdown has been planned. And our capital, Delhi, has undergone last week the third wave, not second, third wave of third spike of COVID-19. So till March or April, some vaccination, some sort of preventive measure is found and government can administer to all of us, entire Indian population or other people in the world. I don't think that we'll have a very normal type of life. And as they say, this is the new normal. That I am talking from Panbazar Institution of Engineers, from my evening office. You are all listening to me at your different homes, and we are exchanging our ideas. This is going to be the new normal. Therefore, I say, instead of lamenting over new normal, instead of lamenting on that, let us accept the new normal, take the challenges, rebuild society, rebuild economy, And I think then we'll be all happy, because this is, something which is beyond human. You have seen 730 million people, 210 countries, so much of scientific advancement. Till now, since 30th December last year, not a single medicine, not a single vaccine has been found. Whatever has been found or reported is all hoax, scientific hoax. From the best of the experts, if you read those papers, you will find it takes 2 to 3 years to find out some reliable vaccine. So, dear friends, this is all about the challenges of COVID-19, opportunities of COVID-19, and some highlight on the Assam front, what all can survive. Assam cannot make cars, Assam cannot manufacture cars, Assam cannot go for total solarization state, Assam cannot do the things which is done by Kolkata or Madras or Chennai or Bangalore. Whatever we have, our strength, our agronomy, our agricultural base, our fisheries, poultry, our wetlands, our forest resources, handloom and handicrafts, textiles, bamboo, those have to be optimized and used. And we also have to think about it. We already had lakhs of jobless people, unemployed people earlier, before this. And now, reportedly, the government says 27 lakh people have come to Assam, and very small percentage of that has gone back, because the families are saying, stay back home. Baba, whatever is there at home, we'll share. Don't go to those places. We don't want to lose your life. Every parents will tell their boy who is doing some night watchman job in some metropolis, or doing some odd job, third, fourth grade job in some metropolis. No parents will allow them to go back from Assam. Therefore, we have an additional responsibility of looking at that 30 lakh people also, besides our normal unemployed. So, dear friends, thanks for having me on a very, very auspicious day for your college. And I look forward to more interactions in the future. I'm very, very comfortable in physical mode, or not online, offline mode, to speak to all of you. And it was wonderful talking to you. So with this, I end my presentation. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Thank you so much, sir. Especially your focus on opportunities in post-COVID-19, especially in a developing state like Assam, it's really very appreciating and interesting also for all of us. So may I now request our participants for a brief interaction with Mr. Sir. If you have any queries or something to add to this lecture, you are welcome. Any participants? If you don't mind, sir.
I told you about telephone that normally memorial lecture, foundation day lectures are one-sided affair. You deliver a lecture, not like seminar or conference where questions are asked. But I told you, everything is broken nowadays. All rules are being broken. We are going to a new normal. Right, Runjun Madam? We are going to a new normal. Yes. So in that new normal process, why not? Somebody can definitely ask a question, or they can say, "Bhal palu, bear palu."
Sir, I have not seen any queries in chat box. So probably they are enjoying your lecture. So you have.
You cannot say, enjoying or not enjoying, you cannot say. But definitely, yes, I tried my best. And wonderful to see all of you.
If anyone does not enjoy this lecture, then I don't know what lecture people will enjoy. You
Dr.
always.
Dr. Borua, apuni bhal pala, Dr. Borua. You are the head of the institution.
It is very relevant and it's very good.
Very relevant theme on which you spoke, sir. Extremely.
Cool.
So, if there is no queries, then we come to the end of this program. So now
give me one this thing. Make me one promise.
Okay, sir.
When the times are normal, in some occasion of your KC Das Commerce College, you will take me and I will talk to the students as well.
Yes,
definitely, sir. Definitely. You're most welcome, sir. Nishchay, sir. So now I request Dr. Runjun Phukan Baido, Vice Principal and Coordinator IQAC, to offer vote of thanks.
Thank you, Upakona. A very good evening to one and all. I am pleased to have the privilege of offering the vote of thanks on behalf of KC Das Commerce College. At the very outset, I would like to offer my gratitude to the resource person of today's 37th Foundation Day lecture, Dr. Arup Misra, Associate Professor, Department of Chemical Engineering College, Guwahati, for sparing his valuable time to be with us and deliver a lecture on challenges and opportunities in post-COVID-19 world, special reference to Assam, which is a very relevant topic in the present scenario, and actually it is the need of the hour. Thank you, Dr. Mishra, for your well-articulated and informative presentation. You gave a good insight on changing global scenario and the changes brought about in business sector of Assam after COVID pandemic. And you immaculately dealt with the expected scenario in Assam post-COVID and the measures to achieve sustainable development. I have no doubt that all the participants have benefited from the thought-provoking deliberation of our esteemed speaker. I offer my sincere thanks to our principal, Dr. Rishikesh Borua, for his constant support and guidance in conducting the 37 Foundation Day celebration along with 37 Foundation Day lecture. I offer my, thank you, sir. I offer my thanks to Dr. Bijoy Kolita, President, Teachers Unit, and Dr. Upahana Chakraborty, Secretary of our Teachers Unit, for their untiring effort to make this 37 Foundation Day celebration a success. I also offer my thanks to all the faculty members of the Teachers Unit for their support and cooperation. My special thanks to Mr. Apurbo Haloi and Mr. Tony Bayon for the technical support, which is perhaps one of the most important requirements for the success of an online deliberation. My sincere thanks to the esteemed participants. Without their cooperation, this would not have been a success. Last but not the least, I would like to thank one and all who have been associated in some way or the other in organizing this 37 Foundation Day. Thank you once again. And Arup, thank you so much for being amidst us. We hope to have you.
Thank you so much, sir.
We hope to have you amidst us offline, and we will do that. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you.
Shall we end up now?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes.
Leaving.
Wind up.
Okay, we are leaving.
Leave.
Thank you all. Good night.
Good night.